Welcome back. One final point before we go tonight. Here's a trick liberals don't want you to know about. The Congressional Progressive Caucus introduced it in Congress yesterday. A $15 an hour federal minimum wage, a living wage they call it. It'll benefit low-income workers, liberals promise us. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The fat cat CEOs of the big corporations can surely afford to pay their lowly workers enough to buy food, huh? Well, here's the thing. That's a bunch of baloney, and that's why Democrats are laying it on so thick. Here's the truth Democrats don't want you to know. This is what really happens when we raise the minimum wage. Products become more expensive because businesses pass on that increased cost to us, the consumers. That's what happens when we raise the wage. Unemployment is higher because businesses cut down on hours and lay off their employees. More people, more of us, are then out of jobs. That's what happens when we raise the wage. 4,000 people lost their restaurant jobs in San Diego when the city here jacked up minimum wage. That's what happens when we raise the wage. In 57% of poor families, nobody has a job. Hiking minimum wage makes it harder to break that cycle of poverty and get an entry-level job. That's what happens when we raise the wage. Small businesses shut down because they can't afford to pay wages, like the bookstore in Seattle, the restaurants in San Francisco. That's what happens when we raise the wage. 50% of Americans work for these small businesses. Those people's livelihoods are threatened. That's what happens when we raise the wage. According to the Federal Reserve, if we jack the minimum wage up to $10 an hour, not even all the way to $15 like liberals are crying for, only 18% of that increase in income would go to families in poverty. But 32% would go to families in the top half of the income distribution because most minimum wage workers are secondary earners in high-income homes, moms who work part-time or teenagers working summer jobs. That's what happens when we raise the wage. When small businesses shut down, who benefits? Big businesses, that's who. No more competition from the mom and pop shops. The very same big businesses with the very same fat cat CEOs liberals claim have too much money. When small businesses shut down, big business benefits. That's what happens when we raise the wage. Guess who else benefits? Liberal politicos. The more people out of work, the more people dependent on government for unemployment benefits and welfare. The more people dependent on government, the safer liberal politicos are in their comfy seats in Congress, just so long as they keep voting to increase those entitlements. Bet the hashtag Raise the Wage Brigade never told you about that, huh? Well, next time you hear the charming senator from Vermont with 3 houses touting the morality of the $15 an hour minimum wage, you ask him, why? Senator Sanders, why do you advocate for big business and government politicos, and why do you hate the working man? Because at the end of the day, who do minimum wage hikes help the most? Rich people. And who suffers from them? Poor people. That doesn't sound very moral to me. And that's my final point tonight. You can reach me on Twitter at Liz_Wheeler. If you liked the show, please send me an email at oann.com/contact. In the meantime, catch us here tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern. And until then, have a good night.